You lie awake again tonight, the room dark, except for the thin blue light leaking from your phone screen. A cold little rectangle that promises connection but delivers only distance. Your body is heavy, yet it refuses to settle. Muscles twitch as though still searching for solid ground that isn't there. You turn over. The sheets cool against skin that feels too new, too unmarked, too recently printed from some factory of temporary lives. The ceiling stares back, blank, indifferent, a modern sky without stars or stories. You are not tired in the old way, not the bone-deep exhaustion that came after a day scything wheat or scrubbing stone floors or walking 6 miles to market with a basket that bruised your hip. That tiredness promised rest. This tiredness promises nothing. It circles, restless, asking the same question without words. Where do I fit? Not where do I work, not where do I love, not even where do I live, but where do I belong when no one is required to remember me? Modern life has given you motion. You can leave. You have left. Cities, countries, relationships, versions of yourself. Each departure felt like freedom at first. A clean page, a new beginning. But the pages keep multiplying, and none of them thickens into a book. They remain loose leaf, easily scattered. You carry your history in digital fragments, photos in a cloud, messages archived, a family tree half built on an app you no longer open. The ground beneath you changes too often to learn your footprint. The earth does not keep score of your arrivals and departures. It simply waits for someone else. And yet, something older inside you protests. It is not loud. It is low, steady, like groundwater moving beneath concrete. It remembers, or perhaps it never forgot, that bodies were once designed to accumulate place, layer by layer, generation by generation, soil stained with the same sweat, the same blood, the same tears. You feel that memory now, not as nostalgia for hardship. You know the past was brutal. Diphtheria taking children in the night, frostbite claiming fingers, hunger that carved faces into masks, but as a longing for placement, for the certainty that if you fell, the ground would recognize the shape of your falling. Close your eyes. Let the restlessness breathe beside you like another body in the bed. Do not fight it tonight. Let it speak. It speaks of churchyards, not the manicured cemeteries of today with identical markers and rules about flowers. No, the old churchyards, the ones behind small stone buildings that have stood since before clocks were common. Uneven ground, tilted slabs, yew trees ancient enough to have shaded your ancestors when they were young and afraid and hopeful and grieving. Grass allowed to grow long in summer, hiding small paths worn by feet that knew every dip and rise. Names carved in stone now softened by rain and lichen, yet still legible if you kneel close enough. Dates that stretch back through centuries, the same surnames repeating like a slow heartbeat. Born, died, born, died, born. You imagine walking there, not as a stranger with a camera, but slowly, barefoot perhaps, feeling the cool damp grass between toes. The air smells of earth after rain, of boxwood, of old stone warmed by a day of weak sun. Somewhere, a blackbird sings a phrase and stops, as though remembering it has sung that phrase for 400 years. You walk past stones that bear your mother's maiden name, your grandfather's name, names you heard in bedtime stories or saw on yellowed certificates, and then you come to stones older still, names you never knew. Men and women who carried the same nose you see in the mirror, the same stubborn jaw, the same tendency to wake before dawn, worrying about things that would not be solved by worrying. They are not heroes. Most lived small, ordinary, difficult lives. A farmer who lost 3 children to fever before he was 30. A woman who bore 11 and buried 6. A boy who drowned in the mill pond at 14. A widow who kept the cottage fire burning alone for 40 years. Hardship was not the exception. It was the weather they lived in. Yet they were held. In the churchyard held them. The ground said, without speaking, You are here. You mattered enough to keep. You feel the ache sharpen for a moment, not because you wish for their suffering. You would not trade modern medicine, clean water, anesthesia, the right to choose, but because you wish for their certainty. The certainty that when their suffering ended, they would not be erased. They would be added. One more line in the long ledger of that place. One more name spoken in the liturgy of earth and stone. Breathe in slowly now. Let the air move through you like a tide. Hold it. Release. The restlessness is not wrong. It is ancient. It is the body reminding you that for most of human time, belonging was not optional. It was structural. You were born into a web, family, village, church, graveyard, and the web held you even when it hurt. But when you died, the web did not tear. It simply folded you deeper into itself. Your grave became a stitch that strengthened the whole. Modernity cut many of those stitches, not out of cruelty, out of necessity, convenience, ambition, survival in a world that moves faster than flesh was built to follow. You can live anywhere. You must live anywhere. Jobs require it. Love requires it. Ambition requires it. So you move. And each move thins the web. Until one day you look around and realize the only threads left are the fragile ones you carry alone. Memory, guilt, love, regret. No one else shares them. No one else will carry them after you unless you insist, unless you write them down, unless you pay for storage space in the cloud. But the body does not believe in clouds. The body believes in dirt, in the weight of stones, in the slow seep of roots, in the way frost heaves a marker a fraction of an inch each winter, as though the dead are still moving, still settling deeper. Let that image settle into you now. Imagine the moment your own breath stops, not dramatically, not with witnesses or music, just the quiet ceasing. The heart, that faithful metronome, misses a beat, then another, then forgets the rhythm entirely. The hands that typed, held, caressed, clenched, now open. The eyes that searched screens, skies, faces, close. The body cools. Gravity claims it fully at last, and the ground receives it. Not a rented plot in a lawn that will be mowed every Tuesday. Not a drawer in a wall of drawers. The same ground that received your great-grandfather after the influenza took him in 1918. The same ground that received the infant who lived only 3 days in 1852. The same ground that received the woman who never married, who tended the graves of her brothers until her own name was carved beside theirs. No hierarchy, no VIP section, only the patient democracy of Earth. You feel something loosen inside your chest. Not peace exactly, peace is too clean a word, but permission. Permission to stop auditioning for belonging. Permission to imagine that your small, imperfect, often frightened life might one day be folded into something larger. Not glorified, not redeemed, simply included. The churchyard does not promise meaning. It promises location. It says, here is where your story touches every other story that shares your blood. Here is where the line continues, even after your sentence ends. Here is where erasure is refused. Not by force of will, but by the stubborn inertia of stone and soil. You breathe out long and slow. Let the thought of that place become a kind of weight. Not heavy like sorrow, heavy like a blanket woven of generations. Pull it over you now. Feel its texture, rough wool, damp with evening mist, smelling faintly of yew sap and turned earth. Let it press you deeper into the mattress. Let gravity do its old, honest work. The restlessness begins to soften at the edges. It does not vanish. It simply recedes like a tide going out, leaving small pools of quiet behind. You are allowed to miss the placement you never fully had. You are allowed to feel the absence of continuity as grief. And you are allowed to imagine its return. Not in life, perhaps, but in the long afterward. The ancestors do not speak to you tonight. They do not need to. Their silence is eloquent. It is the silence of ground that has held every cry, every laugh, every whispered prayer, every last breath. It is the silence of roots that have drunk from the same water table for centuries. It is the silence of stones that lean against each other like old friends who no longer need words. You do not have to believe in an afterlife. You do not have to believe in anything except the possibility that place outlasts person. That belonging can be retroactive, that the ground can say, long after you are gone, yes, this one too. Let your breathing slow now. Match it to the rhythm of something older than you. In, hold, out, hold. Each exhale carries a little more tension away. Each inhale draws in the cool, impatient air of that imagined churchyard. You see it behind closed lids, dusk settling over uneven stones, the last light catching on lichen like faint gold, a crow folding its wings on a crooked cross, the yew branches breathing slowly in the wind. There is a space waiting, not empty, expectant. The grass there grows the same height as the grass around it, yet it holds a different stillness, polite, prepared. The ground has learned to wait. It has waited through wars, plagues, migrations, famines, quiet ordinary years. It will wait for you. You are not lost. You are simply traveling. And every traveler eventually comes home. Let the image of that home become the last thing you hold before sleep takes you. Not a house, not a room. A patch of earth beneath a tilted stone. A name beside other names. A place that says, "He's without speaking. You are here. You are still here. You will always be here." The restlessness fades to embers. The body softens. The breath lengthens. The churchyard keeps its vigil. And you, finally, rest. Among ancestors, in the only eternity most of us ever touch. A place, a name, a quiet return. Sleep now. The ground remembers. It always has. It always will.